Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bad Thoughts Studios. Today, I got Orange Grove, Michael, and Colin. We're going to be going over the new announcement that just came out. HBO is developing a show, Aegon's Conquest. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but it's going to be the story of Aegon's Conquest, him conquering Westeros. We're going to go over some of the stuff that's been said about the show. We're also going to not deep dive into who Aegon was for those who don't know. We're just going to give a slight background on who he is and what we expect the story to be about. But first, I want to introduce my panel. OG, how you doing, OG? How's everything, bro?
I'm doing fantastic. Always a good day when I get to record with you fellas. Looking forward to the conversation today. And yeah, thank you for having me on, brother. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course, bro. For those who don't know who you are, pretty much everyone who watches my channel kind of knows who you are. But if you can kind of tell them about your channel and what you do as well, and where they can
Yeah.
find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. We talk a lot about theme parks, especially like California, like Disneyland mostly. But we dip into Walt Disney World. In Florida, we even do Universal. We also dip into similar stuff with the Bad Thought Studio with like the movies, like Star Wars movies, Marvel, all that nerdy stuff. So we kind of dip into a lot of different areas. But yeah, check us out. It's Orange Grove 55 on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55, and on X, where you will find me arguing with a bunch of nerds on X about Disney
I
all
love that.
the time at Orange Grove 55.
Yeah, guys, please go follow Orange Girl 55 on YouTube. He does amazing work, him and George, about all things Disney. So if you guys are interested in that, please go check him out.
Thank
Amazing
you.
work. Michael Ebba, how you doing, brother? How's everything, man?
Sir, I'm doing fantastic tones. How are you all doing today?
Dude, I'm doing better now that I know that Aegon's Conquest is going to be in the works here soon. So
Hell yeah, awesome.
yeah, bro. But if you could tell the people where they can find you as well, please.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Michael Ebba, and then also on Twitter/X at Michael Ebba 1991.
Yes, sir. Guys, go follow Michael Ebba. He's a great guy. You guys will love his I love the Sonic one we did we just released today, bro. It was such a relieving thing knowing that a game we played when we were younger is now a TV show, a movie. I got to go back and watch the movies for sure, but the show looks way better than I expected. So thank you for joining me on that episode, dude. I had a lot of fun doing that.
No, of course, Matt. Thank you.
Of course, man. And Colin doesn't have social media, guys, but you guys can
What
find him
up?
here. You guys can find him here on Bad Thoughts Studios, and we did an episode with Colin on the Bad Thoughts podcast. He does a lot of D&D stuff, which is pretty cool. So we got a little insight on that. But how's everything, Colin? How's your day so far, bro?
All good, all good. No complaints. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course, man. Yeah, I got to get my my deep dive into some of the books stuff. So I got to have you on, man. But yeah, guys. Aegon's Conquest has just been announced that they are going to be doing it's a direct prequel to House of the Dragon. Let me get this ad up. So
By the way, not to cut you off, Tones, that
yeah.
new background is fire, bro.
You like it?
With the neon and everything, that's
Yeah.
dope. That's dope.
Thank you. I got the neon idea from you, so thank you.
Nice.
So guys, James Hibbard, he's a very reliable source when it comes to HBO stuff. So he did this article. Game of Thrones Aegon's Conquest spinoff is in the works, from the writer from Batman and Batman 2. His name is Mattson Tomlin. So I'll read just a little bit of it. HBO is partnering with Mattson Tomlin in demand scribe of who uncredited work on Matt Reeves' The Batman. He's co-writed the sequel coming out, The Batman 2, and he's done some stuff with Keanu Reeves with the Berserker and an animated Terminator series, which was he did on Netflix for Netflix. Aegon's Conquest is basically a direct prequel to the hit House of the Dragon, telling the story of the Targaryens' bloody and brutal conquest of Westeros. The story follows the invader Aegon Targaryen, who conquered the continent of Westeros with his sister wives Rhaenys and Visenya and their dragons. Aegon successfully unified 6 of the 7 kingdoms in just 2 years, with Dorne able to successfully resist. Now, I'll go to you first, Colin. When you heard this news, what was your first reaction?
I mean, kind of the similar reaction to House of the Dragon, but with a lot more confidence because of House of the Dragon. So I think that if they keep learning from their mistakes from the end seasons of the original Game of Thrones series, and they kind of keep the momentum that they have going with House of the Dragon, I think that it's going to be fantastic. I mean, I'm like actually looking forward to it, especially because even with this, it's kind of similar to House of the Dragon, where there's not a lot of literature around it. It's mainly just history books talking about the things that happen. So again, kind of the same deal as the Long Night idea. You can kind of do whatever you want with it to a certain extent because there isn't anything like concrete. And from what I saw in a couple of videos surrounding that same topic was George is saying that since the histories are inaccurate, his input into the show is going to like be the canon input. So it's like, since the
Gotcha.
histories aren't real, they want the TV show to be real. So he's going to interject things that book readers might be like, oh, that explains a lot in the series, the book series now, because this is the fact from George. So I'm looking forward to it in multiple ways, but I think it's going to be awesomely done. I'm really excited.
Now, you saying that, do you think they'll go away from some of the stuff that was in the books?
I think they'll probably like it. I think that there's stuff that's kind of like controversy, right? So it's an opinion on this. This maester thinks that this is the reason for X, Y, and Z, and then this maester thinks that this is the reason. So what we see in the show should be like the fact, because it's not going to be told through a lens. It's going to be like you're watching it happen. So
Gotcha.
if anything, the limited contents that the books provide, I think that'll just be like kind of the framework for the show, because there's major plot points that happen, but then all of the kind of intrigue and the classic Game of Thrones backstabbing stuff, like you'll actually be able to see who was responsible for what,
Yeah.
as opposed to it's just like, oh, so and so died of a bellyache, and it's like that's how it ends in the book. Like in the book, it's like, oh, this guy just got poisoned, maybe, I don't know, and then you'll actually see who poisoned so and so. It'll be a lot more
Gotcha.
definitive what happened. So that part of it, I'm actually really excited for.
Yeah, so because I've mentioned this plenty of times before. I am a show watcher. I have not read the books, so I go based off what I see and what I anticipate to happen. So, I've had plenty of times where I do videos and I say, oh, I think this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and of course the book readers chime in and they're like, you're a freaking idiot for thinking that. Yeah, exactly. And so go ahead.
They're well actually ing you.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Actually,
Go read a book, you idiot. Like that's the kind of things I get. But I like to get in your perspectives on some things. Like, we've mentioned on Game of Thrones before. You didn't like seasons 4 through 8 or 5 through 8 or something like that. So, there's different variants that are different ways they put in the book than they put on screen, and book readers feel a certain type of way when it comes to stuff like that. So
yeah.
go ahead.
And I don't think, and I tried to steer away from being too much of a hater. It's more like, oh man, that was not the direction I would have taken it. Like I understand you have to eliminate stuff, but maybe not this main plot point. Or it's kind of like there are things that I wanted to see that I just never got to see on screen. It's like, oh man, like that would have been a cool thing to add to the show. But at the end of the day, it's like they had to cut what they had to cut, and they have a whole staff of writers helping them decide what's important, what's not important. So again, for the story that they're trying to tell, it was well done. And I have to say, it was always well shot. It was always well done. The costumes were always on point. Like the production of the show was always fantastic. So I've seen a lot of those seasons and a lot of those episodes, especially when I wanted to see a specific scene in the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to put myself on like the entire book reader side where I'm like, oh, like screw everything that's not the book. It's like, no, I think that I think that House of the Dragon is proof in the pudding. Like that's a fantastic show from start to finish. And it is also not super duper accurate according to the histories. I mean, there are some small changes that they made that are like stylistic or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's a fantastic show. So yeah, I can separate the two.
I agree, and that's a great, like, kind of like the episode we did of like the criticism show we all did. I think Slimer was there with us too. We were talking about the criticism, and and you're on the side of like, you give your criticism, you critique a couple things, but you don't all the way just hate something, and that's that's a good way to look at something, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But OG, what are you thinking about this? What was your first thoughts when you heard about this news? I know you're not too entwined with who Aegon was at first, but now that you kind of know of who he is, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a smart move on WB's part, right? Because I think that like they have a franchise on their hands now, officially like a franchise with the Game of Thrones kind of, I don't want to say like cinematic universe, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, that's sorry, let me cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
That's the direction, because of making shows like this. That's the direction they want to go, is have their own cinematic universe of the novels that George R. R. Martin had written, and that's the direction they're going. And this is kind of the proof is in the pudding right here.
And that's smart. And if they can continue like what Colin was saying with the quality that we're seeing with House of Dragon, it's going to be A+ gold for them. House of the Dragon numbers wise for HBO Max, I mean, we're crazy good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if all Warner has to really do is provide that quality, and I think they can either match or even surpass the kind of numbers they were seeing with House of Dragon. So I think it's a smart move. Another thing too, you were saying, Tones, that like this is what fans, like the diehard fans, been kind of asking for, right? This story to be told. So it is refreshing to see like a studio actually listening to the fans, right? Like, okay, so this is what fans want, we're gonna give it to them. Yeah. What a novel concept, right? Like this is what fans want. This is what we're going to give them. So it's a brilliant move, and I think that I mean I think it'll do very, very well. The gentleman who is the was he the show writer for this or the showrunner? Madsen?
He's going to be the he's going to help George R. R. Martin write the show.
Okay, so he actually he was involved with the Batman, and the Batman. I'm not even really a big DC guy, to be completely honest with you, and I was actually really, really hesitant walking into the Batman because I wasn't really big on Robert Pattinson. Not that I don't like the guy. I mean, he's fine, but it's just for that role, it felt a little weird, for him to be Batman. It just didn't feel like a good casting decision. I gotta say, I was proven wrong, in that movie. I mean, it was a fantastic movie. So if he can bring some of that magic that he did with the Batman into this, I think we're in good hands. Yeah, obviously the guy has chops, so overall very positive. Now we just kind of have to wait and see and kind of see how the execution is, but it sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, you say give the fans what they want. I'm speaking as a fan. This is kind of, I wanted to see how the Targaryen takeover happen. Like that was something that was on the main thing I wanted to see. And we were just talking about Marvel the other day, and it sucks that Marvel doesn't do something like listen to their fans, and because of how well these stories are, the source material's there for Marvel with the comics and stuff, and millions of people love the comics, so why not go? I'm not going to get into Marvel, but it's a breath of fresh air that we see them hearing us. People have stated how much they wanted to see Aegon's Conquest, and it's coming to fruition. They also did the same thing with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That was another show that fans wanted to see. They wanted to see them come up with a show like that, and sure enough, they're filming this year.
Well, and here's the thing too, Tones, like I don't know how much like you guys dip into like the corporate end of this stuff, but like David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery right now, is going through it, right? Like he gets all kinds of crap for like this Wile E. Coyote movie that he's canning and this whole stuff, right? So he gets a lot of heat, right? And some of it's deserved and what have you, But look, you got to give the guy credit where it's due as well. And I think he's handled, at least on the Game of Thrones end of things, I think he's handled it very, very well. And actually, I'd even say even on the DC end, because I think the James Gunn move is going to be proven to be a smart decision. But on these fronts, I think he's doing very, very well. And I think he's handling it appropriately, so.
Yep. So, Michael, we kind of talked before the show. You've watched Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, but when we kind of told you about Aegon and a little bit of his background, what did you think about this news?
Dude, I'm really hyped. So, okay, so for everybody out there and you guys as well, right? Is like I'm also Tones like you. I don't read books or novels or anything. I just watch shows and movies, right? So that's where I get my information from. And I think for us, we have that kind of unique perspective because I think a lot of
Mhm.
times, yes, while the books can be really really good, I think a lot of people then get really angry when stuff isn't in like the movie or show that was in the book, right? So you're kind of held to that, and then you're not as happy with the product of the movie or the show. Whereas for us, we can go in there and still have a good time because we don't have that already pre-knowledge built in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, for me, I really enjoyed Game of Thrones. I enjoyed House of the Dragon, and like Colin, right? Like what you said, if they can keep that production quality there, dude, it's gonna be so cool. Plus, also we'll have another, awesome fantasy series, which I'm really wanting. And then two, what I loved about Game of Thrones is I love that they weren't afraid to kill people off. Like I
Yeah.
really, I mean, yes, I know that like kind of our small core characters were there, right? But you had characters dying off left and right, dude. And I'm
Yeah.
like, in any other show, that wouldn't really happen, because
Mhm.
everybody's protected by plot armor. So sorry, go ahead, OG.
Oh, real quick, I'm so sorry, Evan, to
Yeah,
even cut you off, but you're right about that. That's a fantastic point because, like, I remember, like, at my job before I even started, like, watching, I binge watched the Game of Thrones series like a few years ago, like you did, like 2 or 3 years ago.
yeah,
But like every week in the office, I would hear like my coworkers talking, like, "Oh, who's gonna die off this week or whatever,"
yeah.
and it created like this water cooler moment where people were like speculating, and it
Mhm.
hyped this thing up like crazy. So I just want to bring that up. I think you're right. I think it was smart for them to not be afraid to do that stuff. You know?
Yeah, it's exactly, and that's like one of the things I really love about the show because a lot of shows don't do that. Like they're afraid to take these risks, and I love that the show and the writers were able to tell a story while having still done these things, right? Because if you off a character, okay, how do we write the story now, revolving around that, right? So I thought like that was done really well, and I'm really excited to see this new show, dude. And it's especially like if we're gonna have like this like war and everything, I'm expecting a lot of blood, a lot of gore, and death, dude. So
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, man. And when I first heard this news, I was really really pumped. First thing I did, I literally saw the tweet, hopped on my phone and did a TikTok about it. Like I was so hyped, right? And the one thing I wanted to tell you guys is this story, like for instance, an origin story, right? This is essentially going to be an origin story of the Targaryens and Westeros, and we're I think if they do this correctly and they do everything the right way, this is going to exceed Game of Thrones. In my
Wow.
opinion,
Oh.
I really do think that. Now, I don't know how long the storyline is. In your opinion, Colin, how long do you think the storyline is compared to? I know you didn't read the books for this one, but do you think it's just as long as Game of Thrones?
I mean, it kind of depends. Like, kind of like anything else, they could draw it out as long as they want in a lot of ways, or they could start it wherever they want. So they could go back to the Doom of Valyria, and
But
that's like
yeah,
when the last of the Valyrians went to Westeros to Dragonstone. And they could show that, they could show like volcanoes going off and a
yeah,
massive super society collapsing. That would be sick, honestly. I mean, I was like,
exactly.
I'm kind of hoping they do that, like the first episode. And I'm sure there'll be a big reference to it, but it really depends. I mean, if they wanted to, they could, in theory, I guess, they could kind of do like a kingdom a season. So it's like he's conquering the Westerlands, he's conquering the North, he's conquering trying to conquer Dorne. All of those individual parts of the continent could be their
Yeah,
own season of conquest, which again would draw it a lot out. But as you said in the beginning, I think it only took him 2 years to conquer 6 of the 7 kingdoms. So like
yeah,
the timeline is really condensed, but just like anything else, you can draw it out as long as you want because each episode could be a day or a month. So
yeah,
it's not necessarily built into any sort of strict timeline. They could do it in a season, technically.
I
I
think
think
it's a
it would
smart. I think
probably
that's a smart
require more than
idea.
that.
That's a smart idea, Colin. I like that idea of each season is dedicated to the area, in a different area that's conquering. I think it's brilliant, actually.
All right, so I have a question, right? Do you guys think we'll have any type of time jumping in this series?
uh, mm,
Not in the same way. If we did,
yeah,
it would be like from the past to the present. Like, oh, this was what happened in Valyria, and this is the fall of Valyria. Time jump like 50 years to Aegon's conquest or whatever, but not so dramatic as we saw in House of the Dragons, because all of this happened within like 5 years. So there isn't a lot of aging up characters that you need to do. You don't need to find somebody that kind of looks like this guy 10 years later, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
But they got an amazing job, you know. I'm blown away at how they even did that, you know. It's like, did they get the same guy? They just figured out a way to like age him up. Like,
Exactly.
but yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, and time jump is different, I think, than progression, you know, like a couple of months progression as opposed to like a significant time jump. Then yeah, probably there might be some stuff like that, but nothing super substantial, I don't think.
Yeah, it's if they do have it kind of like, you know, this 5th season or 6 seasons, if they can drag it out that long, I honestly think they can take over Game of Thrones ratings. Because like I said, an origin story is so vital to any like for instance, like Iron Man. Like it was one of the, you know, highest Marvel movies of all time, because you've seen how he became Iron Man and literally how he died. In the spoilers, sorry if someone didn't fucking watch it, but you know, you've seen how he became Iron Man and how he died. You know, of course they could have gone way before and gone to his dad, and you know, but it was literally, it was such a great movie, or great movies, because you've seen how he started and how he died. Now, and like I said, an origin story for the whole Targaryen family at Westeros is something that could be massive, and I do think this will take over Game of Thrones if they do it the correct way. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it has the potential for sure, you know, because I think they've really built upon it with House of Dragon. I think that this has. I agree with you, Tones. I think this has a potential to surpass that if done right. You know.
Yeah.
They brought a lot of people. Look,
I
I wasn't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
No. You keep going.
Oh, I was just saying, because they brought a lot of people. I think that with House of Dragon, it's brought a lot of even more people onto into this franchise than what was there before. And because I know a lot of people that weren't really into Game of Thrones like prior, and they started watching House of Dragon. It was like heavily hyped, and they were like, "Wow, man, I watched this, and now I want to watch the original series and things like that." So it seemed like they were building on this whole IP. So yeah, sorry about that, Colin. Go ahead, brother.
No. Well, and I think that I'm a testament to that I think that the shows that have less significant amount of book content, like House of Dragon, like Aegon's Conquest, those are going to bring in the book readers. So like the book readers don't want to watch the main series because it's like, well, that's an actual series that's super well written and super detailed, and like, you know, I can nitpick, but I can't really nitpick House of the Dragon because it's like based off of like, you know, 100-page book that is a loose history of this opinionated writers, you know, writing about their favorite Targaryens or their least favorite Targaryens or the history around that. So like, I think as a book reader, or as trying to attract the book readers, I think you're gonna bring them more into content that isn't strictly book based. Like you can create a lot more around it that isn't around the book series itself. So I think you're also going to see a massive increase in those type of viewers, and I think more book readers watched House of the Dragon than watched the final like 2 or 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like they were way more interested in something that isn't going to get completely changed, you know, into a different story altogether. So
Right. Well, I think that's what happens too when you just have great storytelling. You know, like if you have great storytelling, great characters, people are gonna watch your show. You know, people are gonna be hooked. You know, and for some other shows, I won't say which shows, that's not happening. You know, so but yes, I think like what you just said, like this show, or I mean, House of Dragons is really gonna hype up for this show, bro, big time.
And Emma, that's why I watched She-Hulk. It was for the great storytelling, you know.
Oh god.
Oh, dude, don't start, bro.
That's a whole nother episode we can get into.
Can of worms.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys, but real quick, I think the action in this I do think the budget's going to be very high because of how much action it's going to be shown in this show. You know, we're going to see a lot of burning of kingdoms. We're going to see a lot of dragons. A lot. I believe there's only 3 dragons in this timeline.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna see a lot of dragons tearing apart the whole Westeros, trying to take over, trying to conquer Westeros. But I'll go first on this one. But the question I wanted to ask you guys is like, what are you guys most excited for in this show? For me, it has to be seeing Balerion. Balerion is the biggest dragon of all dragons. So we thought Vhagar was big. This dude towers over fucking Vhagar. So I'm excited to see Balerion. I think Rhaegar and Meraxes is the sister wives dragons, Rhaenys and Visenya. We're gonna see them like they're gonna Visenya and Rhaenys. Is it Visenya and Rhaenys? Is that the sisters?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rhaenys and Visenya.
they're gonna show how strong. Like they're gonna be a what's the word I'm looking for? Like women are gonna look up to these women in this show because of how strong, like how well. How can I put this? They're gonna lead as women, like in this show. Like Aegon had a lot of faith in these, like his sister wives, to be in battle, to take over take over cities. Like they're gonna be very well done in the show because of how they went about themselves, you know what I'm saying? And I think young women and women in general are going to look up to these characters in this show. But I'm so excited to see fucking Balerion and all the dragons. But what are you guys excited for? I'll start with you, Colin.
I was gonna say, man, Balerion the Black Dread is gonna be like the sickest, like just to see it come to screen, because like they're just to perspective it a little bit. They say that Balerion could swallow like a whole oryx, which is like a cow, and
Yeah.
its entire caravan like in one gulp. Like it could just ride into its mouth. So it's
Yep.
like just disproportionately massive. And then another small side fun fact about that, and I think this is in House of the Dragon, but at one point, Balerion like outlives a lot of people. Like Balerion is like, these dragons live way longer than human lifespans. So later on, Balerion disappears and goes back to Valeria, and then comes back like all fucked up. Like something beat the shit out of it in Valeria, and this is like destroyed Valeria, and people are like, Jesus, like what on earth could hurt this massive dragon?
Wow.
So
I
it's
didn't
kind
know
of like
that.
there's this secret lore of like there's still other things out there that are even bigger. And so it's really cool, and it'll be really interesting to see if they kind of go down the history. One thing I hope they do is go down the history of like how did the original Valerians tame dragons? Like where is their connection to dragons? Because if they're going back further and further and further, then maybe they can do some hints as to like how that dragon bond originally started, or we can see a dragon bonding like kind of before the House of the Dragon style, because it just seems like when there's only so many different ways that they could do that, so
Yeah,
I think that
exactly.
it would be kind of cool to see that. I don't know if they'll focus on that, but also just like the widespread havoc and mayhem that is caused during the conquering of Westeros, like how so many people die. Like
Yeah.
it's like a massive depopulation of Westeros, like just as a result of these dragons coming to town. And I'm really looking forward to that. I am also looking forward to the relationship with the sisters, because one thing that is kind of cool about that is the older sister is more like strict, stern,
Yeah.
like stern face. She's really business lady, and then the younger sister is more like jokey, laughy, free fun. So it's going to be kind of cool to see the relationships where it's like this main guy is Aegon and he's conquering, but he's being balanced out by like a really rough sister and a really fun sister, and to kind of see how those dynamics are portrayed on screen. It'll be really cool to see that. Like I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, that's mine. And then I got a question for all of you guys once we're done with this one.
Yeah.
Tones, I was
go
gonna ask you guys, and maybe Colin, maybe or even I'm not sure, but like you mentioned the budget for this one, right? Because I follow Star Wars like religiously, right? And so with Star Wars shows like Mandalorian and things like that, they use like what they call like the volume to make it look like you're in a place that you're not, right? It's basically like these big screens or whatever. Like, do you guys know like how do they do these Game of Thrones shows? Is this on location for a lot of these, like House of Dragon stuff, or do they use a similar system like the volume that like Mando uses and things like that?
They do a little bit of both. So George R. R. Martin came out and said that I believe he built the Red Keep, or he built one of the castles. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but they built a whole castle, not as in like out of stone, but they built it in their own way to make it look like from afar you're looking at a great castle.
Wow.
But they do have on-site castles that they go to and also film as well. So it's a little bit of both. So you get that, you get that on-site scenes, and you get the ones they make themselves. So the budget, as far as the budget, it could get high because of, I don't believe the on-site thing is going to be much of an issue. I think it's mostly of the dragons and how they go flying and stuff like. I think that's going to be the big portion. The CGI, that's going to be the big portion of their budget, in my opinion. I could be totally fucking wrong, by the way.
Yeah. No, I think you're on
No, I
board.
think you're
I think you're on. Yeah, the dragons. I mean, the dragons. I'm telling you, even with Game of Thrones, that's an older show now.
Mhm.
And the dragons look absolutely incredible, man. I'm just like, what? It's an incredible, it's a beautiful show. Absolutely beautiful show.
Well, what I was gonna say was, it was to that point, OG, what you were saying about the budget and whatever. Is that I love how we have like this fantasy show, right? But
Yeah.
the quality of the production, like what Colin was saying, is that it still feels very grounded, in my opinion.
Right.
And that's what I love about it, because like you see like their everyday lives, and it looks like shit, and it's like this, it's like, damn, that must suck,
Yep.
but I love how like just raw and real how they do everything in the shows, and I love it. It's great. And then I'm really excited for dragons. I know I love dragons. It's like one of my most favorite mythical creatures ever.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see wars and people getting sliced and diced, and just drama within families and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really excited and see how this connects to House of the Dragon as well, right? Like as it goes on. So
Oh yeah. Real quick before I let OG answer, Colin, do you know the time difference from the Conquest and House of the Dragon? Is there like a big time jump?
Well, what's House of the Dragon and the main show? Isn't that like 100 years?
Yeah, 100 and something years. Yeah.
So the Aegon's Conquest and the main show is 300 years.
Okay.
So about 200 years, potentially
Wow.
between 150 and 200 years. So
Wow,
a lot
okay.
has happened, obviously.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that what's cool about that, and what you see with that, is the rise of the Westerosi houses. So like,
Yeah.
you have Targaryen rulers, but then all of the inner politics that happened on Westeros. So like the Starks rise, the Hightowers rise, the Lannisters rise. Like they all got put down during the Conquest, and then they all had to come back up. So that's what you see in between Aegon's Conquest and House of the Dragon. Because now in House of the
Gotcha.
Dragon, it's like, yeah, the Targaryens are powerful, but they need the other houses still. So
Oh yeah. Oh
that's
yeah.
cool, man. That's really cool.
What about you, OG? What are you excited for this show?
Here's the thing. It's like I'm kind of like I'm not as well versed in this kind of like in this universe like you guys are, and I'm kind of going into this kind of blind, dude. Like to be honest. And I'm just here for the ride. I'm kind of here just to see like where it all goes, where it takes me, because I don't know a whole lot about it, and so I didn't know a whole lot about House of Dragon either, and I think that was part of the fun for me, where I kind of went in blind and I kind of experienced this for the first time with fresh eyes. And it was cool. It was cool. Yeah. So yeah, I typical stuff. I mean, I'm excited to see like the dragons and all that stuff. I think the fight scenes and all that stuff, the action is gonna be incredible. But I don't know. I'm keeping an open mind and just kind of seeing where it takes me. It worked for me when I went into the game with House of Dragon. I'm gonna go into this with the same mindset, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. What was the question you wanted to ask, Colin?
I wanted to see, and you might have a stronger opinion, Tones, because you're a little bit more familiar with the source literature, but who do you guys see playing Aegon? Like, who do you see the cast
for Aegon? I wanted to do a whole new episode about that, just fan casting, but I will answer Aegon. And someone put it on Twitter today, and I thought it was the most like perfect casting for Aegon.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
You're gonna share it. You're gonna share it so you can see who's okay.
His name is Harry Goodwins.
Okay.
Oh no, not.
I will put up the picture of him. It's on Twitter. Apparently he put a picture on his Instagram. This is him right here.
Oh yeah, dude.
He put a picture on his Instagram. I'll show you the post. He put the picture of Aegon on his Instagram as if he wanted to play him.
Yeah.
Or it could possibly been cast already. We don't know. But when I seen his picture, and I've never seen this guy before, I mean, come on.
It's perfect, bro.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's perfect. Now,
If I were to choose anyone, it'd have to be him.
Look, I mean, aesthetically, he's the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen him. I don't know the acting chops. You know how that goes.
Yeah,
but visually, he fits it like perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of reminds me. You guys ever watch that show on Netflix with the Vikings?
Oh yeah.
I was about to say that guy's got to be in the Viking show.
He had to have been. He looks because I used to love that show too, and he looks vaguely familiar. And I'm like, is that where I've seen him? I don't know.
Yeah. But you guys can feel free to answer this. But I do want to do a whole show or an episode of fan casting. I think that would be such a great show.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Sign me up.
Yeah. Do you who do you doing, Colin?
Well, so and the only reason I asked is because when I was looking this up earlier, I saw a bunch of like thumbnails and it had Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I was like,
yeah.
I
So,
mean, especially with like the Witcher style hair, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
bleach
Could work.
white. He's massive. He's just got this big chin, you know. He's just like this jaw guy.
Yeah.
Like half jaw. Like I don't know. I mean, I've just got like a big, huge man crush on him. So
I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Right.
Yeah.
What about
it really could be.
What about Chris Hemsworth? Or is he too connected now to Thor?
No, yeah. So let me before you guys start naming off big actors, let me say this real quick. I vouched for Henry Cavill to be the Stark. I forgot which who's going to be playing Stark, or what's the Stark's guy's name in House of the Dragon that's coming up? I forgot. Anyway, there's a Stark. They're going to be flying to or going to Winterfell in season 2 of House of the Dragon, and I fan casted who I anticipated them to pick for the Stark to play, and I said Henry Cavill. I want Henry Cavill to be a Stark. I think it'd be perfect. But I thought about it, and I was like, I love these small actors becoming these huge, becoming huge overnight because of how fucking well they do, how amazing they do on the show. Like Game of Thrones, none of the cast was a popular face. Like none of us knew Kit Harington was. Now he's a fucking household name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Emily Clark, she played Rhaenyra.
Sean Bean.
Yeah, like dude,
Pretty popular.
yeah, he is.
He always dies. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
like- Ned Stark, you knew Ned Stark
Yeah.
was gonna die.
Yeah.
Sean Bean plays him. Sorry.
But one out of the 100 that were casted, you know what I'm saying? And I love that factor when it comes to these shows. It's like when you see like he said for Twilight for Patterson, what was his name?
Oh, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. You kind of like you go from Twilight to Batman. Like you already have this persona of this guy playing a fucking pale vampire dude. You know what I'm saying? So I love that factor when it comes to smaller actors playing these huge roles. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at. But you guys can feel free to say whoever you want, really.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Hemsworth would be an interesting choice. The only problem with that is it's kind of like the Robert Pattinson thing a little bit. It's risky because he's so connected to Thor now.
Yeah.
You kind of can't look at him without thinking Thor. You know what I'm saying? Now, it doesn't mean it can't work because it did work with Robert Pattinson, for sure, but it's a risk. Man, I don't know. I think that the dude that you showed initially, Tones, he kind of fit the bill. Like almost like, if he can act, if he has the chops in the acting department, I think he might be the guy. But
yep, I agree. Before we get out of here, guys, I want to go over just real quick the TV shows that are coming out. The TV shows that we know is coming out. For Aegon's Conquest, it hasn't officially been greenlit. The guy who wrote it, or the guy who wrote the report, he is a very connected person within HBO. He's he's released information about shows coming out in the past, so he is a reliable source. But HBO hasn't officially said anything, publicly. So Aegon's Conquest taken out. Season 2 of House of the Dragon is coming out this year, this summer. A Tale of the Seven Kingdoms is going to be filmed this year. We don't know exactly when that's going to be released. Maybe at the end of next year, possibly, but I doubt it. I'm thinking more of 2026. Another one was the Sea Snake. They are going. It's alleged. It's all alleged. This one's alleged that the Sea Snake is going to be an animated movie or TV show, excuse me, and it's going to be the first Game of Thrones universe show that's going to be animated, which I'm not opposed of. I can think I could get into it. They do have budget restrictions when it comes to most of these shows. George R. R. Martin did state that he wanted more than one Westeros show on air at once. So I'm assuming that's what the Night of the Seven Kingdoms and House of the Dragon is going to be. Those two shows on at once. They canceled Blood Moon already. They shot the pilot for that, $35 million out the door, but they shot the pilot for that. And then they ended up saying there wasn't enough source material for them to go off, so they ended up canceling the show. But the next one is Aegon's Conquest. That's the last one we know of that might be greenlit sometime soon in the future. But out of all those shows, I'll start. I mean, I guess I'll go to Colin because they're not too entwined with those shows. But out of those shows, what are you most excited for?
Oh man, that's really tough.
Yeah.
Because I think I personally love the Night of the Seven Kingdoms stories. They're little novellas. There's 3 of them. They're super easy. If you guys are ever curious, you want to go through it. I'm looking forward to those because they're a lot more lighthearted. It's not like it's fun, but it's not as serious as Game of Thrones or Aegon's Conquest. So it'd be kind of interesting to see the change of pace there. But I think I'm really stoked for House of the Dragon season 2.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
I
me
mean,
too.
it's tough to not be, because that's a for sure. It's coming out. They've already done it. You know what I mean? It's ready to go. So it's hard to not be excited for something that's a guaranteed coming out. You have a release date almost, when it's coming. Honestly, all of them, I guess I'd have to say it's a safe answer. But immediately would be Hot D season 2 for sure.
Yeah, yes, sir. What about you guys, OG? What do you think?
Oh, I would think I'd have to go with Hot D season 2.
Yeah,
because it's something that like Colin was saying, it's kind of like a proven thing. I already know I like it. I already know I like season 1, so it kind of has that built-in hype factor to it.
Yep.
But number 2 would be Aegon for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I of course I want to see House of the Dragon season 2, but like I said, the potential I'm assuming this show has in Aegon's Conquest is going to be crazy, and I do hope they do it. I do hope this isn't just speculation, but yeah, I'd have to pick Aegon's Conquest. But what about you, Michael? Oh, good.
Well, I was gonna ask you a real quick question, Tones. Cause you said they the Blood Moon, right? They spent $35 million on this thing, and then they decided, okay, there's not enough source material. That seems like a problem that you probably could have picked up before you spent $35 million.
Yeah, right.
Am I wrong? I mean,
well,
what was that about?
So kind of let me break it down just a little bit. So Colin and I kind of went over this. You guys can go watch that video. I'll link it in the after we're done. I'll link that video. But it's pretty much about it was about a wedding between actually we don't know exactly who the wedding was going to be about, but they went in thinking HBO was going to greenlight this. They were going to he was going to have writers on and then make up their own story about it. And George R. R. Martin was really passionate about that project, but unfortunately HBO didn't like the fact that there wasn't enough source material behind it. There was only 8 lines written about that day about what the show was going to be about. So HBO has pretty much said, no, You know, they've had their fair share of shows that weren't written by George R. R. Martin that they tried to do, you know, on the fly, and we seen how that happened. So, you know, it's also in my opinion, it is good that they didn't do it because of, you know, of course, I want 30 freaking Game of Thrones shows on TV all at once. I wouldn't mind that, but at the same time, you know, because of the lack of source material, the shows that have been released that they're going to be putting out, I like that they're putting enough effort into those shows rather than a show that hasn't been written. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, Michael, what are you excited for? House of the Dragon season 2?
I mean, of course, right? House of the Dragon season 2, but then also, of course, Aegon. But taking those out, right? Again, like OG, like what he said, like same here. I'm not really well versed into the lore stuff, but I think that sea snake sounds pretty cool, though. You know? I mean, I don't know what it is, but it sounds dope. So I think that's cool to see. And also, too, I think it would also be cool seeing a
actually, real quick, you do know who he is. You know who Corlys Velaryon is? Remember the guy who sailed and he got hurt? Yeah, that's who the show's going to be about. It's going to be about that I'm not sure if it's that specific quest that he went on or if it was something else, but it's going to be it would be around him. He would be the main character.
Oh, that's dope.
But yeah, sorry to cut you off, dude. Go ahead.
No, you're good. And I think it'd be cool having a animated show as well. Because the thing, right? Because I remember Tones, you brought it up before that you hope that it's not like the quality is not low. And I think that as long as they keep like the theme and like the tone of the show, like as Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, I think it should be fine. You know, you keep those elements in there, because here's the thing: it's something that's animated like a cartoon. It doesn't have to be like kiddie. It doesn't have to be for kids. You can have mature content in this thing. So I think.
Have you guys seen Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix?
No.
Oh, is it dope?
You guys have to watch it. Yeah, it was pretty dope. But in no way in hell children should be watching that show. George R. R. Martin came out and he put on his blog that he watched the show, or he watched the show and fell in love with it. He absolutely loved it. And you know, they showed, you know, private parts and you know, slicing of blood, and it's a gory show, but it is well done in an animated way.
Is it anime or is it American animation?
It's
I don't know actually. Where
me
it's
neither.
Produced from, but it's a very, very unique animation style as compared to like traditional anime or even American anime. You really kind of have to just watch it and you'd understand what we're trying to say. But yeah, it's really cool. And he commented on like specifically the animation style was like super cool and interesting to him. And then right around that same time, they were talking about this animated Game of Thrones show, and we're like, wait a second, like somebody can connect these dots.
All right, he's like, ding.
I'm intrigued. I'm gonna check it out. That's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and it's a very good show. Like you would enjoy it. But the reason why he even wanted to go into an animation kind of way is because the budget. There's a budget on certain movies or certain TV shows rather, and he wanted to put the big money up when it came to bigger events, bigger storylines. So he said, "Fuck it, why not? Let's try it out." And I'm not sure. Like I said, that's all alleged. We don't know for sure. Nothing's been greenlit for it, but he was leaning towards a animated version, and he picked from what we read, the Sea Snake show is going to be the one that's going to be animated. But it's all speculation, guys. Don't know for sure. But like I said, Aegon's Conquest has been announced as far as a reporter that is very entwined with HBO. So we'll see if it ever gets greenlit. We hope so. But thank you guys for joining me. We're going to wrap it up there. It was, we love talking Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. We love talking all that. So I appreciate you guys for joining me. Guys, comment and let us know what you guys think of the news. Let us know about the takes we had and if we sound stupid or not. I love to hear that. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. You know, we do a lot of movie, TV show stuff like that. So if you guys are interested, please give the channel a follow. But I'll start with you, OG. If you could tell the people where they can find you on social media, please.
Yeah. Thank you again, Thomas, for having me on. It's always a good time, brother. You can find me on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. Where we talk theme parks, movies, nerd stuff, all that good stuff. Again, YouTube, Orange Grove 55, Instagram, Orange Grove 55, and on Twitter or X at Orange Grove 55. And Colin, I think you have the right idea, brother, with no social media. It's probably a pretty stress-free life.
It's just different stresses. It's
Yeah, exactly.
stresses.
Exactly. And yeah, guys, go follow OG, great guy, and shout out to George for sorry to cut you off, by the way. I know you guys were doing a live before this. I totally forgot that you guys were doing a live.
No, you're good. You're good. No,
Yeah.
we got like a good 2 hours. Actually, I was just really surprised that we had as many questions as we did. I wasn't expecting that kind of input. Like it was nice though. It was nice, but yeah, it was just it was a lot more than I thought. I thought 2 hours could cover it, but it didn't.
No, not at all. I was watching too. But yeah, guys, go follow OG55 on YouTube. He does a lot everything Disney, so go check him out. All right. But yeah, Michael, if you could tell the people where they can find you, please.
Yes. So, Tones, again, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it as always, sir. You can find me on Instagram, Michael Ebba, and then on Twitter /X. You can find me at Michael Ebba 1991.
Yes, sir. Guys, go follow him. And Colin, always a
I'm
pleasure
here.
talking Game of Thrones with you. Guys,
Always.
if you guys want, leave some comments for Colin in the comment section. You know, ask him some questions. Like I said, he's read the book, so if you guys have any questions about the books, Colin will I'll relay the message to Colin, or he can check out the comments and he can answer them. But yeah, but thank you again for joining us, Colin. Appreciate it.
Happy
guys,
to be here. Always.
of course, man. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Follow me on social media, Tones_TV on all platforms, and go follow the podcast, Bad Thoughts Podcast, on YouTube and Spotify. All right. Hope you guys have a great night. Love y'all.